The first full trailer for the Resident Evil movie, directed by Zach Cregger, has officially released today, and we're going to go through it, break down all the details, plot information we got, anything and everything. If you enjoyed this video, drop a like, hype it if you learned something new and you're watching this on mobile, and I won't waste any more of your time. Let's get right into the breakdown. We start with our main character, Brian, in some sort of hospital, clearly not one in Raccoon City, as we learn later he's being sent to Raccoon City. He walks past someone with a giant gash out of her leg, very disgusting. And in this shot, we get a clear look at his yellow flannel, which to me looks like the one that Kendo wore in Resident Evil 2 and 3 remake, which I think is very cool. Nice little reference there. He also has on a vest that shows that he is medical equipment transport staff. I'm assuming he mostly transports like organs and blood and different things like that hospitals need that are a little too sensitive or have to be sent ASAP and can't be sent on like a general shipping route, those sorts of things. He picks up this extra job because it pays double since it's out of the area that he normally delivers in. The doctors ask him to make the other run. He wasn't originally going to do it, but then he does. So we can assume that he's broke, much like the rest of us. It then cuts to him on the phone with his girlfriend, fiance, or wife. We don't really know. Michelle. Here we see that the movie does take place in modern day. This is a more modern Samsung phone. I'm not exactly sure which one. I am not a phone expert. The most notable thing here is the age of the phone. Resident Evil, at least as far as the Raccoon City era goes, predominantly takes place in 1998, so we are clearly not in 1998 here. It was a little up in the air as to when it took place before this, but I think this is the most official confirmation we have that it just takes place in modern day. I doubt they'll give us specific year. I'm assuming it's just going to be sort of vaguely modern day, closer to October, November, maybe even December of either 2025 or 2026. But him and his girlfriend clearly are already having some problems. I'm assuming due to the nature of his job where he's barely home and he's basically just door dashing internal organs between hospitals. I'm assuming that keeps you pretty busy and away from home and away from your loved ones. And that's going to put some strain on the relationship. She's going to go stay at her friend's house where he ends up running over a zombie, which is very reminiscent, if not an exact copy, of the shot from Resident Evil 2 Remake where the trucker hits the zombie, gets out and goes, "Oh my god, what did I do?" after eating his nasty ass burger. I'm very curious what he is transporting to Raccoon City that was so urgent. It is in a different color bag than the other one. I don't know what these bags signify. From what I could tell researching online, green is a sort of non-standard biohazard waste or high-risk infectious waste. That was just from some quick Googling, first result on Google. So I'm not totally sure what could be in here. I am assuming that it's either a sample of the T-virus or a T-virus vaccine. Though if it was a vaccine, I'm assuming that would either be in a blue or a white bag, as white indicates that it has sharps like needles and stuff, but blue means specimen transport. So I'm not sure what green means. Green isn't a super common color. It's sort of just the catch-all color of something that's not the other colors. That means it's basically not infectious waste. It's likely some sort of specimen or an injection of some kind. Don't really know. If anyone who is in the medical field who knows more about this would like to leave a comment, please do let me know. I would love to hear about what this could be from someone with more experience in this field. I will pin your comment down below, so please do let me know if you have more information on this. Very curious what's in here. I'm assuming it'll be a big mystery through the movie, or it'll at least be the main MacGuffin, and he has to keep it safe because kind of the fate of the world depends on it, which leads me to believe it's either a T-virus sample or a T-virus vaccine. It's got to be one of those two things. Could be something else. Don't really know. They're taking a lot of liberties with this adaptation. It could be anything. I do find it interesting that he hits the zombie and then it cuts to the zombie multiple yards into the forest. Cars hit you hard, but they don't hit you that hard, and they especially don't hit you to the side. They hit you in the direction the car's already going, because that's how physics works. So I'm assuming that it like crawls away as he gets out of the car, and this will be an extended horror sequence here that they've kind of trimmed down for the trailer. And then he's using his phone as a flashlight to light up the blood prints and the footsteps to track the zombie into the forest, where we could see she did indeed crawl into the forest, or at least walked into the forest, or maybe this is where she came from. Also here, I'm picking up noises in the background. They're very subtle, but they're no Vistador noises from Resident Evil 4 Remake. Why are there no Vistador noises here? I have no idea. Is this saying that there's going to be no Vistadors or some kind of bug creature that's very similar to them in the movie? That would be incredibly random if so. But since Zach Cregger said that Resident Evil 4 is his favorite game, I wouldn't be surprised if he took some Resident Evil 4 elements and tossed them into this movie, because clearly he's doing whatever the fuck he wants with this, which that's his own prerogative. That's totally cool. I'm fine with that as long as it comes out good, which it seems like it will. Would I have preferred something a little more faithful, or at least that's canon? Because this doesn't seem to be canon whatsoever. It was not snowing in the Raccoon City outbreak, and that happened in 1998. This is like 2025, 2026, so clearly it's not canon. But if he's doing his own thing, and it's a faithful adaptation from an atmospheric sense, I'm fine with that. I'm totally cool with that. I've always wanted Resident Evil to have more snowy environments, so I'm already on board with what's going on here with Raccoon City as far as the setting stuff. It's all really neat, but I'm just curious how many different Resident Evil things are going to get mixed into this movie. If we're hearing like no Vista nor noises in the trailer already, this is so random. That is the last thing I would have expected to hear in this trailer. He then stumbles onto a small little farm, or at least a house with a very large piece of land that has a little barn, a little covered outdoor garage, and obviously a two-story house. It is surrounded by fence, not barbed wire fence, which is interesting. I feel like if they had cattle or something, these would be barbed wire. So it seems like it's just a large property where people live, and if they do have animals, they're in the barn and well contained. But Brian knocks on the door with no answer and then goes into the house to see that it's just a regular freaking house, notably with a lot of taxidermy though. I'm curious if Brian here, our main character, is also gonna be talking to Brian Irons, Chief Irons, who runs STARS and the police as a whole. It would be weird if both main characters were named Brian. That just seems a little odd, but this could be his house with all the taxidermy stuff that's going on in here. It's really giving me his vibes. He then goes into the other room to see that the table's been knocked over and some food that was clearly just being prepared or just being eaten was knocked over. So there was some sort of abrupt outbreak that was also happening outside the city. So I'm assuming that they're going to go with the plotline of it being in the water, and that's why it's affecting everyone at once, because everyone drinks from the water about the same amount and uses it about the same amount, so everyone succumbed to the sickness at about the same time. He then finds a double-barrel shotgun, which in all honesty is hilarious because those have barely been present in any Resident Evil game. I can only think of a couple that have side-by-side double barrels, one of which is the Hydra, which has 3 barrels, or there's also the Over-Under double barrel from Resident Evil 7. But the most notable double barrel in Resident Evil history isn't even from the games. It's from the movies, and it's the ones that Alice uses where she saws them off and loads them with quarters. I'm assuming they picked it because it's just a very common firearm to own. It's just kind of a default, like, oh, I need a gun for home defense. Double barrel shotgun, at least in more rural environments like this. We then get the very Resident Evil feeling of looking for bullets, at least on higher difficulties. He opens this drawer and finds the very same brand and type of box that the shotgun shells are in from the games, and I freaking love seeing this. This just scratches my brain so good because the ammo boxes in Resident Evil are low-key weirdly iconic, and I love them. It's little things like this that show that while Zach Cregger is doing his own thing and making his own thing out of the IP, he still respects the IP and still is paying homage to what Resident Evil is, and I like that stuff. Like, it's not like throwing it in my face, like, oh, we need to find the heavy field shotgun shells in the green box. This'll really help me survive this horror as I fight with Chris Redfield. It's like, they're not doing like stupid bullshit like that, but they're just doing little things, and I like that. I appreciate that. However, it does immediately cut to a zombie full sprinting into the house World War Z style, the very same one that he hit earlier in the trailer, and she is full sprinting, freaking Usain Bolting to the house. I don't like this. Resident Evil zombies are scary because they're slow and durable. They take tons of punishment to put down, but in caveat to that, they are slow. That's why they're scary, is because, yeah, they're not gonna catch up with you, but if you're stuck in a room with one and you don't have enough ammo to take it out before it closes the distance and bites you, you're freaking screwed. That's where the horror comes from, the slow tension. Having the zombies be able to full sprint like this is just not as interesting to me and doesn't feel like Resident Evil. I will avoid making firm judgments until the movie comes out and we see how it is in the movie. It could be really good, but when I think of Resident Evil zombies, I think of the slow guys, not some freaking World War Z. This then cuts to our first shot of Raccoon City, where everything is covered in snow. Some of the buildings are on fire. It looks freaking awesome. I'm loving the color palette that was picked here. Raccoon City is very blue in the remakes, and they've swapped to a more kind of yellow color palette with like the older streetlights. And I'm really digging it. I really like it. There are tons of dead people and blood and stuff all over the cars, all over the street. It's insane. You can tell that he's arrived here many hours after the outbreak happened, but not like multiple days after. It's just so interesting. I love how much this looks like Raccoon City and looks like Resident Evil, but still has its own unique little flair to it with the snow and everything, and it contrasts really well with the environment and the yellow lighting, and it looks so good. And I'm really liking it so far. We then get this crazy shot of Brian shimmying across a ledge Outlast style in what looks like an umbrella facility. I don't know why he is here or what this is, but just the way like the beams are and the color palette of the building, it just looks like an umbrella facility to me. I would not be shocked if that's what this is. Clearly something has happened to it because there's a giant gaping hole in the middle of the building. I don't know what would cause this. A regular zombie can't do this, so I'm assuming there's some other bigger monster in this movie that they're not showing, which I'm a big fan of. I really hope that there's some cool ass Resident Evil monsters in this movie, or some mutated animals. That is one of the most slept on aspects of Resident Evil, is the freaking cool giant animals, and I want to see what caused this. I'm voting giant snake, because that would be sick. We then get the shot of all of the limbs like peeking out of the pitch black at the door, which to me doesn't read as Resident Evil. It reads to me more like Silent Hill or something like that. I don't know. It looks cool, just doesn't read to me as Resident Evil. These types of things where I'm just like, oh, this is a Resident Evil. That's not me making a firm stance. That's me saying, I'll wait to see how it is in the movie. I just don't understand how it's Resident Evil. Hopefully that makes sense. It's not just me like blindly hating. It's me wondering why it's in a Resident Evil movie as opposed to something else. We then get another shot of Brian running, and this time he doesn't have a shotgun anymore. He has an MP5. So I'm wondering if he like runs into some soldiers, or if he runs into some like Umbrella soldiers that like died and he takes one of their MP5s, because the Umbrella Task Force in Resident Evil 2 remake uses MP5s. So I'm wondering if it's kind of a reference there, or if he got it from the Umbrella lab or something like that. Who knows? Just thought it was an interesting thing to point out. It then cuts to someone else driving, this guy in the passenger seat, who is presumably talking to Brian in the back seat of the car. I have no idea who the guy driving is, but this guy, I think this is Chief Irons. He resembles Chief Irons. If he was younger, he knows what's going on with the outbreak and stuff, and all the taxidermy at the house. It looks like they're driving away from the house in a new car. It in fact looks like the Chevy from the previous shot that we just saw, that Chevrolet SUV. It could be that one. It doesn't look like the same car that Brian was driving in with, so I'm assuming he sees Brian Irons hiding out in his house, and then they all three of these people leave together to go into central Raccoon City, and something happens there. I could be totally wrong. This could not be Chief Irons. It could be the Raccoon City mayor, whose name I'm blanking on right now. I don't know, but that's just a connection I made with the taxidermy, and then he's leaving with this guy that resembles Chief Irons. I don't know. It could be him. We then get a shot of Brian, who seems to be cowering in the backseat of the car we were just talking about, and he opens the bag to look what's inside. So it seems like about halfway through the movie, we'll know what's in there, since he's phrasing it like he's got something super creepy and dangerous in the container. I'm assuming it's a T virus sample. I don't think it's a vaccine. If it was a vaccine, he wouldn't be like being so mysterious about it, I think anyway. I don't know. But just the fact that that character knows so much about what's going on, I think he's Chief Irons. I think it makes so much sense. I then get this shot of this tiny little like hand peeking out of something. It could literally just be a zombie baby, because in the next shot, he's clearly in a hospital with lots of little baby beds in the room, and they all are covered in blood, which is terrifying to think about. If we're getting zombie babies in this movie, this is going to be terrifying. This is going to be horrible. Horrible in a good way, obviously, because it's horror. We want it to be horrible in a good way. Like, horrible as in, like, terrifying. I'm wondering if this is the same building that we saw destroyed earlier, where it's like an Umbrella hospital, and this is some sort of experiment going on here. Or maybe it was a creature that was, like, eating them. I don't know. Could be a lot of different things. The next shot we get is of Brian running down the street with a bunch of bodies seemingly either falling out of windows or falling off of the tops of these buildings. I'm wondering if he like made a bunch of noise or set off a car alarm, so they're like walking out of the windows or the rooftops onto the ground, and because they're zombies that don't know any better. I don't know. This is really weird, so random. It's very, like, unnerving, though. I'm not going to say it's outright scary, but it's very unnerving. It's like, what the hell's going on? What is this? And it's so cool. We then get our awesome title card. I love the vibrant red of this. It very much feels like the classic Resident Evil games where you had the bright red logo. The actual title itself isn't bright red, but I'm just loving the bright red look of this. It's also reminding me of Resident Evil Veronica, how we're getting the bright red backgrounds for that. Lots of good brain synergy. Great job, guys. You're doing a good job. And then at the end, we get one last scene where he's like, what was the place again? And she goes, it's in Raccoon City. Like, she's dropping some, like, awesome name from an MCU movie. And it's a little funny. It's like, yeah, who's this organ going to again? And she goes, it's Tony Stark's heart. And then you get the Avengers theme blaring. Kind of feels like that. But, hey, I'm a Resident Evil fan. I'm fine with shit like that. Overall, trailer looks awesome. I am apprehensively optimistic because the movie looks amazing. I'm just wondering how good of an adaptation it's going to be, because it's about 50-50 with this looks perfect, this looks like what Resident Evil is, and then another 50 is like, what the fuck is this? Why is it snowing in Raccoon City? Why are the zombies sprinting? It's just random. Like, it's such a random mix of things, and I hope it all comes together to be a good movie, because at the end of the day, whether or not this is a good Resident Evil adaptation or not, I want this movie to be good, and I hope it's good. If it is a good movie, but a kind of a weak adaptation, honestly, I'm fine with that. Because we've had many weak adaptations, many weak adaptations of Resident Evil. You kind of struggle to call any of them good, but if we get another weak adaptation, but it's a good movie this time, that's progress, and I will take it. That's going to do it for the video. If you enjoyed it, drop a like. If you disliked it, feel free to dislike it, but let me know why down below. Let me know what your favorite part of the trailer was, and if you want to support the channel more directly, consider hyping the video, subscribing with the bell notification turned on, or if you are interested in channel membership, you can also get one of those for a couple bucks and support the channel more directly. Obviously, no pressure, but those are all there for you if you would like. Thank you all very much for watching. Hope you enjoyed the video, and yeah, stay evil, my residents.